This is such a popular franchise. I hope it's good, but let's talk about it. My name is Brandon Keith Avery, and this is just my opinion. Hey, what's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another great epic episode of Just My Opinion for my Wicked movie review. And if this is your first time finding me and you happen to like the video, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing. All right, guys, now we have Wicked. This is a highly anticipated film this fall of 2024 based off of the novels that came out a long time ago. Now, this film is being directed by Mr. John M. Chu. This is what the gentleman looks like right here. And if we just scroll down and look at his filmography, he did do In the Heights, which came out in 2021. I did not see that film, but heard some decent things about it. He also did Crazy Rich Asians. That movie was very good. And also Now You See Me Too. I saw both Now You See Me and Part 2. I like Part 1 more than Part 2, but Part 2 was still pretty good. I miss Jim and the Holograms, and G.I. Joe Retaliation. That's very forgettable. Came out 11 years ago. But some of these I've seen, like I said, some of them I have not. But if you've seen them all or any at all, let me know down in the comments section below. Now, when it comes to my expectations for this film, initially I was not going to see it for two reasons. Number one, it just really didn't interest me. I'm a fan of The Wizard of Oz. I've seen the original 1939 film as a child and other adaptations as well over the years. I still enjoyed it. I enjoyed The Wiz with Michael Jackson, which I came out in the late 70s or early 80s. That's off the chain right there. And there was another film adaptation that I seen here and there that was enjoyable as well. I have not seen the play or read the novel, so I'm not going to be able to compare anything there. And my second reason why I was not into this film is Cynthia Erivo. Now, I will admit, she is very talented, okay? The woman is skillful. She can act and she can sing. In my opinion, her best role was Bad Times at the El Royale, which came out in 2018, starring Chris Hemsworth as well. There was one scene in that movie where she checked the hell out of his ass. I loved it, thought it was great. In my opinion, like I said, that's her best performance across the board. Her worst performance is Harriet, that came out in 2019, a year later. Please check out my review for that. That was dreadfully awful. Now, like I said, Cynthia Erivo can act, okay? I'm not gonna take anything away from the sister, but on a personal level, the disparaging, disrespectful comments that she made towards Black Americans, calling us wild animals, I just cannot forgive. And ever since I heard that, I was just like, I just can't support Cynthia Erivo. But thank you, Universal, for allowing me to see this film early. Right before I saw it, I just saw so much buzz online about how many people were excited about this film. People that saw it even earlier at the premiere said that it was pretty good too. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to miss out on this. I can separate my personal feelings from the artists and what they are able to produce. You know, I don't like Mel Gibson, but a phenomenal filmmaker. I can go down the list naming a bunch of people, but those are my expectations. I just initially wasn't that excited about this. And then you just heard my feelings for Cynthia Erivo. But I do like musicals. The trailers did look pretty decent. Seemed like it would be a lot of fun. And so I said, okay, let me go ahead and give this a try. So before I get into all the nitty gritty, before I talk about all my likes and dislikes, let me tell you exactly what this film Wicked is all about. Elphaba, a misunderstood young woman because of her green skin, and Glinda, a popular girl, become friends at Shears University in the land of Oz. After an encounter with the wonderful Wizard of Oz, their friendship reaches a crossroad. That was a very interesting synopsis. I'm gonna let you know if it's accurate or not. But I'm gonna do something a little different here. Usually I give you the intro and everything that I just gave you. I go into my likes, dislikes, and then wrap everything up. But I'm gonna be bouncing around here and there, talking about the film and its structure, and I'm gonna start out with the things that I really did not like. First thing is this film is entirely too long. It is coming in at a runtime of 2 hours and 40 minutes, nearly 3 hours long. Now that does include credits. If you take the credits away, it's much shorter than that, but it's still just too long. The pacing was not the best, and I was honestly ready to go. Now, when I say that, I'm not saying that the movie is trash. I'm not saying that the movie sucks or it's horrible or that you need to stay away. I'm not saying that. We'll get to that in just a minute, but this movie is too long. And I will go ahead and say this. I don't mind long movies at all, as long as the pacing is fine and it flows. It's all good over here in my world. You know, I'm not tripping on that. Titanic was 3 hours. I didn't feel the length on that because the pacing was great. Avengers Endgame was 3 hours. I didn't feel the length in that because the pacing was great, but that's just not the case in this movie. Again, Universal, thank you so much for allowing me to see this early. When you go see early screenings, they do ask that you turn off your phones or any devices that can emanate light. I always turn mine off because I don't want to disturb those around me. But this time I was compelled. I was sitting in the top right corner, so there was nobody to my right or behind me for me to turn on my phone if I needed to look at the time to see how much was left. And I did that. I couldn't help myself. And I put my phone in my shirt like this. I took my phone, put it in my shirt, did one of these little numbers right here to look at it, because I just had to know how much time was left because things were just so slow. And when it said the movie started at 2 p.m. CST, I looked at my phone, it was 3:45. I was like, oh my gosh, we have about a whole nother hour to go. I don't know if I can do it. So that's just the first thing I didn't like about this film is the pacing. It was good at some points, bad in others, but the movie is just entirely too long. Another thing that I did not like about this movie was the intro. It felt like we were starting the movie in the beginning or towards the end instead of the very beginning of the movie. It was just weird and very jarring for me, at least. At one point in time in the very beginning, I leaned forward in my seat and looked to the left and was like looking for an usher, wanting to ask like, okay, who has the remote? Can we please rewind it and start at the very beginning of this movie? I would really, really appreciate that. So I did not like the runtime to start off, and I did not like the intro. I thought that was horrible. Also, I want to say this because this is such a popular franchise. This is such a popular IP, and let you know what this movie is not compared to the stage play or novels. And I wasn't aware of this because of its popularity. Of course, I wanted to do some research, but this movie is PG. And unlike the stage versions, it does turn down the more sexual or mature aspects from the source novel. For instance, Melina gives birth to Elphaba after being raped by the wizard. And the wizard in this film is being played by Jeff Goldblum. I definitely don't want to see that. Elphaba is a fully realized sexual woman who has various sex scenes with Fiyero. Melina seduces Turtleheart, who also becomes sexually involved with her husband Frexpar. And baby Elphaba is portrayed as being fed with blood. What? This is in The Wizard of Oz? Again, I had no idea. That's apparently in the novels. I have not read, but none of that is in the movies. And so if you was concerned about that, don't be, you can take your kids. But one thing that I did like about the film are the practical effects. This is taking place in the land of Oz, Neverland. Okay, that's Peter Pan, but we're not in the same reality, the same existence that we are in right now on Earth. And so you want to be able to suspend your disbelief. And for some parts I was when it comes to the whole set design of the landscape of Oz. There's big, giant rural areas with grassy plains that have rainbow colors everywhere. The costumes are pretty dope. I really did like when we got to Emerald City, it looked like it was real, like you can touch it, and things were not shot on a green or blue screen. And I really do appreciate that. It just makes things a bit more authentic. Now, while things in this film did start off extremely slow for me, I will go ahead and give you a positive. And one of the best parts, one of the best aspects of the film, and that is Elphaba, played by Miss Cynthia Erivo. Again, I did mention earlier that I am not a fan of her personally, but I am mature enough to separate that from her talents on screen or on stage or wherever. And she was the best part of this film. Not when she popped up on screen, because she did show up early, is when she started singing. That is when I actually started to enjoy this movie. That is where everything in this film started to come to life. And I mean that literally. Everything in the movie got more colorful and vibrant and filled with life and energy. I am assuming that they did that on purpose, and they did a great job there. Elphaba has the most substance and character development in this whole entire film, and that shows. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that Cynthia Erivo's performance is just a knockout home run. It's the best of the year and she deserves an Oscar. Not saying that. I'm just saying that it's the best in this movie and she did a great job. Another thing I liked about her character is I am able to relate to her character so much. And that has to deal with the film as a whole and the underlying messages and themes that it's trying to push out to you. And I will say, on a bad note, This film has too many racial undertones, and Elphaba, Cynthia Erivo's character, is at the center of that. And I don't mind race relations or anything like that in my films and television, but it was just too much. It was too on the nose. I did not like the way that it was delivered to the audience. It just wasn't smooth or organic. I am never one of the people out there that complains about some material, movies, television, whatever, saying, oh my gosh, there's a woman in the lead, it's woke. Or there's a black or brown person in the lead, oh, it's woke. Or there's gay people, trans people over here, it's woke. It grinds my gears when people say that online. I think that is just some of the stupidest, most ignorant things out there. However, I can admit myself that this film is just too woke. I mean, you just take a stamp and just stamp it wokeness, and I wouldn't be mad at you. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, man, have you heard of the word of subtlety? It just didn't exist in this production when it comes to Wicked. And I'm sorry, I just have to be honest with you. And again, I'm one of those that just stays away from the whole this is woke, but this film it was. I honestly felt like they was trying to program children to think a certain way. And I was really annoyed and turned off by it. I'm really, really curious to see what everybody else feels about this film and whether they agree or disagree with me. I cannot wait till all the other reviews come out because I'm gonna be scaling them up, down, in and out, left and right, all that stuff. But yeah, it was just a little bit too woke for me. However, I still was able to relate to the racial issues, the racial undertones in this movie. With Cynthia Erivo being black, they don't ever show her black skin in this movie. They show her being green, but she is treated like a black person. But what I also like about Elphaba's character is her sarcasm and also her ability to be self-aware and read a room. She knows that she's green, and I know that I'm black. If I were to walk into a room and somebody gets scared of me, like, oh my gosh, you're a black guy. You know, I'm be like, yeah, no shit, I know I'm a black guy. But the way that Elphaba reacts to those same type of scenarios in this movie, I found to be absolutely hilarious because all people of color, or at least most of us, have went through what she did in this film. And she always has the perfect comeback to shut down any nonsense from all these dumbass characters in this movie. And I ate it up. Again, that's just perfect. I was able to relate to just about all of it right there. Again, she's very smart. Elphaba is very concise. And I like the character because it sucks that she has to do this, but again, I can relate is how she had to walk on eggshells throughout this whole entire movie when she is the one that's the most talented, when she is the one that's most gifted. It broke my heart that her character was such a shining beacon, but she had to dim her light because of all the stupidity that was around her. There's so many people that have to go through that in life. I've been there before, maybe you have too, but that was actually perfect representation and made me love her character that much more in this film. I also love Elphaba's characters because she is one of the only characters in this film that had a great sense of reality. While everybody seems like they're high off drugs, she's the one that's grounded and has a great level of common sense, and that's just not too much to ask for. Now, some of her acting at certain points in time was a little bit spotty, but it wasn't just Cynthia, it was all of the characters, like the exposition, and sometimes the acting was pretty good. But sometimes they would just kind of step out of the acting till they will react to one incident and it just seemed out of pocket. Like, why did y'all use this take? Why didn't y'all use the other one? Like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? If they find out, we're gonna be in trouble. It's just like, whoa, where did that tone come from? It did not match what was there 10 seconds ago. And now you're acting great again. And that was throughout the whole film, not just with Cynthia Elphaba's character, but with like a number of other characters in this film. And it was just kind of weird and jarring. Good acting, good acting, good acting, good acting, bad. Good acting, good acting, good acting, good acting, bad. It's like, hey, what's going on here? And again, my main reason for liking Elphaba in this film is because I said I can relate to her. And I liked her character because she felt like me in so many different scenarios to where you're sitting in a place around a bunch of people and you're like, I am surrounded by idiots. That is what her character was going throughout this whole film. And I was feeling her pain. I was like, I'm here for you, my sister. I am here for you. I just wanted to jump through the screen and give her a big old hug and be like, it is going to be okay. We're gonna get through this. Okay, so that's just how much I liked her character in this film. And now we have to talk about Miss Ariana Grande, the singer, actress, songwriter, performer. My goodness gracious. I'm not necessarily a fan of Ariana Grande. I have nothing against her, but of course I've heard of her before. And she was pretty good in this film too. But what I mean by that is she was so good, actually so great, of being a character that you just can't stand, to where you just want to knock across the room because she is so spoiled. She is such a brat. She is such an asshole. It's like, ugh, somebody please come knock this woman out. Like, For real, for real. There are going to be so many women out in the world that see this film and be like, oh my God, I love her character, Glinda or Galinda. Now, she has two names in this movie, Glinda and Galinda, two names. That's not a mistake. But just for the sake of this review, we're going to call her Glinda. But there are going to be so many women that identify with her and not see anything wrong with it at all. But then there's going to be a completely different other group of women that are going to be rolling their eyes in their head so much they may fall out. You're going to be saying to yourself like, oh my God, I cannot believe this bitch just said this. Like seriously, because that's how I was. I was looking at people like, did she really just say that? Did these words just come out of her mouth? Can a woman please come and smack the crap out of her? Because I want to so bad, but of course, we can't be doing that. You got to keep your hands to yourself. But her character was a complete asshole, and it was entertaining because of that. It's just ridiculous. The amount of privilege that she had going around just complaining and whining and bitching the whole time like, oh my God, I can't believe things didn't go my way. I didn't get my way. And also, her character is the perfect textbook example of how a lot of white people en masse love black people, but only love black people as pets. And a lot of black people have a hard time trying to swallow that pill or comprehend it. But a lot of us are waking up now and realizing that as each day, each year goes by. But seriously, it was ridiculous. The fact that she thought she was the pinnacle, the model citizen that everyone should try to emulate. And if they had any other thoughts beyond that there was something wrong with them, just gonna make your jaw hit the floor. This woman was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Like, just seriously, her way was, I'm white and I say so. Okay, because I'm a white woman and I say so, that's how things need to go. If that offends you, I don't really care, but that was the movie. You go see it for yourself and tell me you're wrong, I dare you. I mean, we can disagree if we can agree to disagree. I'm having fun, but I'm being serious too. But her character was just a ridiculous a-hole that just needed to be humbled to the utmost degree. And hopefully somebody does. So as far as those two characters, I mean, I like them. They were entertaining. Michelle Yeoh was pretty entertaining as well. Jeff Goldblum as the wizard, he came towards the end of the film. He was okay. It just kind of feels like he was just trying to get a check or doing somebody a favor. I like Jeff Goldblum, but there was just nothing about his role or performance that just blew me away. That's a bit unfortunate because I was expecting more, but hey, it is what it is. Now, as far as the plot is concerned or the story, it was very difficult for me to suspend my disbelief. Again, this isn't Oz. It doesn't make sense, okay? This is just a fairy tale land, but it was just still hard for me to accept some of the things that was going on. And one that had to deal with the talking animals, there was another subplot that was floating around this nearly 3-hour movie that just really didn't do anything for me. I just did not care about the animals and their plight, unfortunately. There was one goat voiced by Peter Dinklage. I like Peter Dinklage, but everything that he was going through, I just didn't care. And there was some subplot with some animals and some oppression, and I was just like, okay, can we get through this and move on to something more interesting? The whole talking animals thing for me was just weird and again jarring. It just didn't do anything for me and just took up runtime. They should have cut all that out, took it out the plot, took it out the story. I just didn't care. Now, as far as the musical aspect, because this is a musical, I think that the directors or producers made a mistake because a lot of this was sung live on set. And I think that was a mistake because the energy was missing from a lot of the songs. About half of the songs in this film I liked, about half of them I did not like. The only ones I liked were the ones with Cynthia Erivo. Every time she showed up and she was singing, dancing, performing, it was good. It had everything that you wanted it to have. Other than that, man, I'm like, okay, who got the remote? Can we fast forward and get to another part because I'm bored. I'm not really feeling this right here. It's just dull, it's just dry, it's just boring. I have a list right here of the songs. This is Act 1 and Act 2. There was one song called Loathing, or they kept singing about loathing. It was Cynthia Erivo, Elphaba's character, and Ariana Grande's character, Galinda. I don't see it here, but I really did like that song. That was dope. There was another song to where there was one character by the name of Bach. He went down in some type of basement underground club or something like that, and he was expressing his romantic interest for Elphaba's sister that was in a wheelchair. I think she was a paraplegic. She was handicapped. That whole sequence right there was dope as hell. That whole song, the dancing, the singing, I was like, yeah, let's get it. I'm feeling this, I'm good. I'm like, we're in here. I am enjoying myself. The film is elevating as far as being entertaining. I like this, let's get more of it. There was another song to where when they did go into Emerald City, everybody's singing and dancing and pop locking and dropping it like it's hot. all that. The choreography was dope. I loved it. I'm like, yeah, okay, let's get it. You know, I just wish all the songs was like that, but they wasn't. It was just half and half. Again, half the songs I like, half the songs I didn't like. So hey, it is what it is, like I said. But back to the plot, like it was bouncing around. There was at least 2 or 3 times in this 2-hour and 40-minute movie, so I was like, okay, where are we going with this? Like, what's the plot? What is the end goal? Okay, is Glinda and Elphaba going to this Shiz University so they can learn magic and learn how to control it? Or are we more focused on these talking animals and the plight that they're going through? Are we trying to reach Oz? Or is Elphaba the only one that's supposed to be learning how to use her magic? Like, it just kept bouncing back and forth and then abandoning the plot, and I just didn't know where the film was going, and I really wasn't looking forward to it either. I was just like, okay, when can this be over with? Because I'm just not having the best time. I'm not having a horrible time, but I'm just not that entertained. But y'all, this movie is not horrible. It's not trash. It doesn't suck. I'm not telling you to stay away from it. Again, I went in with low expectations, but unfortunately, I mean, this movie just wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. I wasn't the target audience, and that's perfectly fine. You may be the target audience. This movie may be for you. It may be everything that you want it to be, and I hope that it is for you. When you go see this movie, I want you to have the best time that you possibly can. I really do hope that you do. You can come back and let me know in the comment section if you did or not. And I will go ahead and say, guys, this movie is part 1 of part 2. I did not know that going into the film, but part 2 is coming out next year. They felt that they just couldn't fit everything into this film in one film without butchering it. And so they made it 2 movies. And my goodness, I just, right now, with the way that it ended, I don't have any interest in seeing part 2. I don't think I will see it. The only way I will want to see part 2 is if universally everybody is running out of the theater, running out of the auditoriums like, oh my gosh, part 2 is so good. It's so much better than part 1. You have to see it. You have to see how it ends. You have to see how it concludes. Okay, then I will go see it. But right now, I'm just like, man, whatever. But I'll go ahead and get my rating for this at the very end, guys. But for now, that is just my opinion, and I want to thank you so much for tuning in. If you did enjoy this video, please go ahead and give me the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, helping me reach my next milestone of 75,000 subscribers. And if I had to rate Wicked out of a 1 out of 10, I would still give it a passing grade of a 6 out of 10. Yes, a 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10 is the lowest grade for me that's still passing. I would say the film passed. I didn't love it. It wasn't for me, but again, it doesn't suck, and I'm not just gonna hate on the movie. And so guys, again, there you go. Hopefully you enjoy yourself when you go see it, but yeah, it just wasn't for me. But guys, again, before you go, don't forget that I'm B. Avery. That's just my opinion. Peace out, and I'll see you next time.